Good day, everyone. Simon here. I've recently decided to start making a series of videos based on the fact that I was recently diagnosed with squamous cell carcinoma, a tumor on the base of my tongue. This was a bit of a shock to the system, and in doing some research online, found a bunch of videos of other people diarizing their journey, their process that they're going through, and I found it very helpful. And I will put together these videos as I go through my diagnosis, treatment, and post-treatment, hoping to give people some more insight into what they're going to be dealing with if this is something that you have unfortunately been diagnosed with, but also giving some insight into others who just might be interested in what their loved ones might be going through as well. No means a medical expert, have just done a fair amount of research on the topic of recent, and would like to share some of my thoughts, some of my personal goings on, and let everyone know how things work out for me. I'll start at the beginning. Several months ago, I started experiencing some difficulty swallowing when I was eating foods. Not all the time, it would be occasional, and then progressed to being more of a sore throat and a general feeling of uncomfortableness in my throat and my upper airway area. I have a history of Crohn's disease, and decided to go get a full checkup with my gastroenterologist. Just had been a long time since I'd done that. I had a full colonoscopy, endoscopy, so camera down the throat into the stomach. They didn't see anything too untowards, except for a very small ulcer in my stomach and a lot of inflammation in my airway and throat area. The gastroenterologist at the time said that most likely the issues you're feeling are related to GERD or acid reflux from the ulcer and from just generally having acid reflux issues, and prescribed some not antibiotics, some medicine to help with the acid reflux. And from there, I was back in, we're in February now, this was back in October 2024. Went through the holidays, didn't see any improvement. Was still struggling a lot with swallowing sometimes, general pain in my throat, just a discomfort, something felt off. Had an incident at New Year's Eve with family and friends trying to swallow something, and it got just literally felt like it got stuck, and had a hard time for 5 or so minutes breathing, coughing, spluttering, not really being able to get it out. Eventually, fixed itself and was okay. At that point, I decided to get some more professional advice. Made an appointment with an ENT in January 2025 after the holidays. At the time, I could only see a PA, but just thought getting in there and getting it checked out would be a good idea. I decided to, met with the PA, told her my symptoms. She sounded, sounds a lot like reflux issues that you have. She decided to do a endoscope, a little tiny camera through the nose, down the back of the throat. She didn't see anything except a lot of irritation and redness, and said, look, this is reflux issues. Here's some stronger medication for the reflux, but come back in 3 weeks and you can see the ENT doctor and see if he finds anything different. Well, 3 weeks went by, no improvement with the new medication. Saw the ENT doctor back in the first week of Feb, and he took a look at me and said, "Hey, do you want to do another scope just in case and we can see?" And I said, "Sure. I'm still struggling. This isn't great." And he put the scope down my nose, and in 5 seconds I saw it's go like this. And I was like, "Oh boy, that's not good." And he said, "Well, I see something. There's a mass back there." And after he took the camera out, and he said, let's take a look at some more detail. And he was able to, pull my tongue out a little bit and could see the top of the mass at the front. He said mass on the base of my tongue. He wanted to see if they could get a quick biopsy there and then in the office, and he was able to manipulate the tongue and my mouth a little bit enough, and he went in with some forceps and numbed it all and snipped off at the top of the surface of the mass some tissue for biopsy, and then sat me down and said, "Look, this is indicative of something called squamous cell carcinoma." First time I'd ever heard of it. And just be prepared that it could be this. We'll wait and see what the biopsy results show, but you don't really have any swollen nodes under your neck, which would also be another sign. So it could just be a benign issue going on back there. And we'll talk next steps once we get the biopsy results. A couple of days later, the results came back, and to my relief, at the time, the tissue sample was benign with some concerning cells of inflammation, but it did say benign. And fortunately, my ENT doctor, who said, well, I just think we didn't get deep enough into the tissue sample. I really want to get in there and get a biopsy under anesthesia, quick procedure, go in there and take a deep tissue sample of the mass, and we'll go from there again. So are you okay just coming back in, scheduling you for a small procedure under general anesthetic and taking a sample? I was like, sure. In the meantime, he said, let's get a CAT scan. So scheduled a CAT scan, was able to get in pretty quickly. CT came back showing a 3 by 3 by 4 centimeter mass on the base of my tongue, which was kind of what we expected. I wasn't expecting to be that big, but did certainly explain a lot of my challenges swallowing. And now you can hear a change in my voice a little bit. I also had some earache, pain shooting up my jaw into my ear. And those are all symptoms of a mass growing back there. So the CT scan did not show any major lymph node involvement, so that was great. Still thinking everything's benign. Anyway, I had the procedure under anesthetic to take a deep tissue biopsy. Nerve-wracking, but the procedure was pretty simple. Went into an outpatient clinic with him and the ENT doctor. Anesthesia put me under. Next thing I knew, I was done. Was able to go home that day with my wife. And it was a little tender, a little sore from all the stuff they do to manipulate your jaw to get the laryngoscope down there and all that sort of fun stuff, but not too bad. The hard part was the waiting on the tumor results. And 2 days later, the online electronic chart updated with the pathology, and I got an email saying, new test results for you to view. And I clicked on open, and that's when the news really hit home. You see tumor analysis, squamous cell carcinoma, showing that it was, in fact, cancer. Growing on the back of my tongue. Little bad news that we're working through now. The other piece of news that was new to me that is fairly common with this type of cancer in the research I've done and talking with the ENT doctor is it also came back positive for the protein P16, which is indicative of the HPV human papillomavirus, meaning that at some point in the last 20, 25 years, I was exposed to HPV16, and most people's bodies are able to clear the virus out of their systems. They don't have any problems. A couple % of people can't clear the virus and it stays dormant. And an even smaller group of those people can't clear the virus. It stays dormant until it doesn't. It is becoming one of the fastest growing types of cancer, and it's mostly in adult men, young adult men, with HPV virus manifesting as squamous cell carcinoma in the oral pharyngeal section of the head and neck. So base of the tongue, soft palate, tonsils is where most of this type of cancer is starting out. Most people present with swollen lymph nodes as their first indicator. I kind of a little bit different with it presenting as a mass on my tongue and difficulty swallowing. But anyway, I don't want to get too technical on the medical side of things. There's tons of research out there, easy to Google and find out about it. For me, the next steps after finding out was to meet with an oncologist. It took about a week to get an appointment with a recommended oncologist in my area. And we sat down and had a chat, my wife and I, and with him, and pretty much had the same plan of attack as I had been able to research myself. The size of the tumor made it into stage 2, pending a PET scan, which is scheduled for tomorrow, could potentially be stage 3. If the PET scan doesn't show any metastases locally into nodes or anywhere else in my body, then this will be a surgical procedure. Hopefully just cut it out and be done. But if it does have any local metastases or distant metastases into nodes around the body, then we'll be hitting it with some chemo and radiation combined therapy. I'll talk briefly about both of those two procedures, and I'll update a video next week with the results of the PET scan and what my treatment protocols are going to be. The surgery is a very specialized new kind of surgery that they're doing called TORS, or transoral robotic surgery. In my area in Virginia, there's not too many options close to me. I have to go out to Charlottesville. I do have an appointment scheduled with a specialist surgeon who does this type of surgery for next week. If it is just localized to the point where there's no metastases, and we can just go in there and cut it out, which would be the best and easiest option. A couple of days in the hospital, a couple of weeks to recover at home. Excuse me. But if it has got some metastases locally, then the treatment plan would be a chemoradiation protocols, which is pretty rough. From what I understand, being the head and the neck, there's a lot of other parts, functional parts of your body that are up there. Ability to talk, swallow, taste, hearing, all of that sort of stuff gets affected by the chemo and the radiation. The chemo type would be a drug called cisplatin, recommended 7 times each week, 40 milligrams per meter squared, once a week for 7 weeks, and 35 daily doses of radiation at 2 gray a day, to a total of 70 grays, 5 days a week. So every single day for 5 days, you get Saturday and Sunday off. That, in combination with the chemotherapy, do a really good job of nuking the hell out of the tumor and any nodes that have been metastasized. The cure rate for this type of cancer is above 90%. So that's really something to hold on to and be positive. If I do have to go the chemoradiation route, the side effects are going to be pretty harsh. It's a pretty tough regimen. Preemptively, the oncologist recommended getting a feeding tube, I call a PEG tube or a G tube, inserted, because after week 3 or 4 of the radiation, you do lose the ability to swallow. Not everybody, but most people lose the ability to swallow just because of all the damage that it's doing into that area. So the feeding tube is there to help with nutritional support. I went to the dentist the other day to get everything checked out, make sure that I didn't have any loose teeth or anything that needed fillings or any metal fillings that needed to come out and be replaced with ceramic fillings. Good recommendation to do that. And so now we wait. PET scan, like I said, tomorrow morning. Should have the results in a couple of days. Hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have a treatment plan with the oncologist or the surgeon, and I'll keep everybody updated as time goes by. I hope to do one of these videos every week, even through surgery or the chemoradiation treatment, just to keep everybody up to speed and help me process all this information. Add any comments into the YouTube channel if you're interested, and I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. Anyway, until next week, cheers everyone.